Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and today we're going to take a look at another set of Micromasters. This time we are taking a look at the Decepticon Sports Car Patrol. Now the Sports Car Patrol was released in 1989. They would be part of the second wave of Micromasters released that year, so they would have come out in the latter portions of 1989, and they would only be available in 1989, as they would be discontinued the following year, and we would not get a replacement for them. As you can see, the unit consists of 4 Micromasters. We have their leader, Blackjack, here on the left, followed by his immediate subordinate, Roadhugger. Then we have Detour and Hyperdrive. As stated before, this unit functions in Advance Assault, which means they're usually the first unit to arrive on a battlefield. So they get to be the first ones involved in attacking the Autobots, but also getting some quick battlefield intelligence to relay back to their commanders. However, they are also known to get the heck out of there the moment the real fighting starts. Let's get things started off by taking a look at their leader, Blackjack. Blackjack here is the only one on the team to blend his deviousness with his courage. He's also the brilliant schemer of the group. So whenever they're heading out into battle, they rely on Blackjack's schemes to not only be able to pave a path for the advancing Decepticons to follow, but also to deal with Autobot fortifications that they encounter when they get there. It's also his grand scheming and whatnot that makes him also able to come up with the escape plan that the unit will need to get out of there. I know he's not that easy to see on camera, partially due to the shadows that we're casting here onto him, and this black color doesn't help. Let's see, move his arms a little bit and keep the chest plate down. Maybe you can see his face a little better. That's somewhat better. Alright, taking a look at Blackjack's articulation. You can move, he's one of the few, you can move his arms all the way around. They just happen to catch the chest plate and move it if you're not careful. He does have a joint at the hip, so that you can bend both legs forward like so. And there is a joint at the knee, so you can bend him at the knee and put him in a full sit-down position. Alrighty, to transform Blackjack into his alternate mode, you basically fold the arms so that they are pointing straight up like so, with the wheels at his head. And then you'll fold the chest plate up and onto his head. And turn him around here, and you will fold up his legs like so. And then there you have his alternate mode, a sports car. Specifically, he is a 1988 Ford Probe GT Turbo. So that should definitely let people know he's not a Pontiac Trans Am, so he's not trying to invoke certain other cars. But I gotta admit, the black and gold paint job on him is pretty good. I kinda like it. And even like the nice detail here on the back. Windshield wipers on the back of the car. That's just cute. That's just cute, folks. And he does have little plastic wheels, since rubber was long phased out by this time. Let's see, put him back here towards the back, and how does he roll? Pretty darn good. Not too bad, folks. Alright, next up we'll take a look at his second in command. This is Roadhugger. Roadhugger only respects Decepticon rule and feels that all other plans, rules, and regulations are just rubbish for him to run over. What makes him the ideal second in command is that he's got more courage than Detour, and he's less of a psychopath than Hyperdrive. So that makes him at least a little more stable. The only problem is that Roadhugger does not always care about the intricate plans that Blackjack lays out, and thus feels he should just rush in and do whatever he feels like. So that makes him something of a liability to the team if he's not willing to follow the plans, because sometimes he could wind up in a situation where he is greatly outmatched and needs to be rescued, thus diverting precious resources to go get him. As for Roadhugger's articulation, he doesn't have quite as much. As you can see, there's a section right here at his shoulders that blocks his arms, so this is as far up as his arms will go. Otherwise, they can fold right down against the body. He does have a joint here at the hip, so you can bend him at the hip about 90 degrees, and you can also bend him at the knees for a full sit-down position. Alright, to transform Roadhugger, we start by folding his arms against his body like so. And you'll take the hood of the car and fold it over his head, and then fold his legs up into the back of the car. And here we have another sports car. Roadhugger is a concept version of a Ferrari 408 Integrale. I hope I pronounced that right, and I apologize to any Ferrari aficionados if I didn't. So for something of a concept car, he looks kind of cool. I just don't really see the Ferrari bit in him, but like I said, I'm not that familiar with a lot of Italian sports cars. When you live in Ohio, folks, you don't really see a lot of Italian sports cars. But the purple color scheme isn't too bad. The light blue I'm not quite sure of, but it does seem to work on him. And again, he's got the plastic wheels. Thing you got to watch out for, especially with Playwear, is this front end does get loose very easily, so it doesn't always lock down. And how well does he roll? Rolls pretty good, as what you would expect. Alright, next up on our list is Detour. Now, Detour acts as the voice of reason and self-preservation by being the most vain and self-absorbed member of the unit. He doesn't like to risk himself if there's another option, like, say, getting the heck out of there before the shooting really starts. Since he's the first one to announce when he feels that the odds are getting against them, he voices it, and Blackjack uses that to determine if they really need to get out of the battlefield. So that makes him the early warning system, if you will, on whether or not they should stay or whether they should run for the hills. As articulation goes, he can rotate his arm all the way, just like Blackjack, but he's a little bit better in the sense that there's nothing catching the hood of the car on his chest plate, so that's an added bonus. He does have, like the others, a joint at the hips, so you can bend him at the hip. And you can also bend him at the knees and do a full sit-down position. I don't know why that's important, but it is. They can do it. Now, to transform Detour, he's the same way as his boss. You'll fold the arms down to the side, fold the chest plate up over his head, and then fold the legs over into the back, and there you have it. Some sort of really weird looking sports car. Supposedly, he's an Indy version of a Chevy Corvette. Now, if we put some black striping on him, he could almost pass as Bumblebee. Looks kinda cool. It's an interesting looking little car. Somehow I seem to think that many of my sources probably switched up the alternate modes. I mean, this inset here seems to be more appropriate on a Ferrari than a Chevy, but like I said, I'm no expert on cars. But this one's kind of nice. I kind of like the yellow color. It's kind of a dull yellow, though. That's the only disappointment that I have with it. The dome on the top looks kind of weird to me, folks. I mean, I don't get it, but like I've said before, I'm no expert on cars. Let's see, how does he roll on his plastic wheels? Rolls pretty darn good. Yeah. And there we have Detour. And last up we have Hyperdrive. Now, of course, those of you that are aficionados of science fiction, you know hyperdrive is what they use in Star Wars to travel back and forth between systems. At least that's the kind of engines they use, are hyperdrive engines. So, interesting little factoid. But in this case, the Transformer Hyperdrive is a character that is easily angered and easily bored. Kind of like most men if we don't have dreams. Since he has such a small attention span for things, destruction is the only thing he thinks about when he loses interest in whatever he's doing. The only thing he doesn't get tired of is disposing of wounded Autobots, so that makes him the most despicable character in the unit. Even other Decepticons are put off by ones that are as crazed and psychotic like Hyperdrive is here. Now, as for his articulation, he's just like Roadhugger. There's a bit of parts from the car that block his shoulders, so that's as far up as the arms go. Otherwise, the arm can bend all the way down just like that. He's good to escape out of my fingers. He can also bend at the hip like so, and bend at the knees like so. Alright. Transforming hyperdrive is just like with Roadhugger. Fold the arms down. Fold that section over his head. And then lastly, fold the legs up. And there you have it. His car mode is a Mitsubishi X25 concept car. Nice to see that for a line that came from Japan, there's at least one Japanese car in the lot. It's an interesting looking car. I'm not too thrilled with the blue paint job, but it's acceptable. Now, let's see. How does he roll on the table? Yeah, just like all the others, he rolls pretty good. And there's all of the members. Okay, as for loose parts, this unit really doesn't have any loose parts. The only things that you might want to look for is on Blackjack and Detour here. The way their chest panels are, there is the potential from rough play for them to be broken off. It's not that easy to do given how tight they are against their arms and shoulders, so getting them off and on is going to be pretty difficult, but that is something to keep an eye on. I have seen a few loose Micromasters that have the hinged piece there that forms their chest. Has been removed on a few loose samples, either through rough play or deliberately done. So that's about the only thing to look for if you buy this set loose. Now, we'll move on to their card backer, and this is it right here. Shows the unit all in some rather impressive posing. Of course, down beneath each one of them in this area here would be all of them in their car modes. So that'd be kind of nice. As you can see from this price tag, they sold for $6. I have no idea what Grandpa's is, but I guess what we don't know won't hurt us on that sense. We turn it around to the back side, and up here it'll show you all the second wave Micromasters. You have the Rescue Patrol, the Sports Car Patrol, and the Battle Patrol. And then, of course, you've got the individual mottos and instructions for each guy. Detour, Hyperdrive, Blackjack, and Roadhugger. Of course, down beneath the last guy there, we have the barcode and the robot point. These guys were worth 1 point. Moving over here to the opposite side, we'll take a look at their tech spec. It's got purple lines and a purple bar above it to show they're Decepticons. Even says Decepticon in there. And features a picture of all 4 of them, which matches their pictures here on the front of the package. It lists their name as the Sports Car Patrol and lists their function as Advance Assault. Their motto is, "It takes force to push back the enemy, but speed clears the way." Detour, Hyperdrive, Blackjack, and Roadhugger are 4 of the meanest machines to ever hit the streets. Their primary purpose is to clear a route for Decepticon ground troopers, and they don't care how many wrecks they leave by the roadside. Known for their menacing cleanup tactics, it is, quote, speed, unquote, that is their true calling card, and it enables them to swiftly eliminate anything in their path. So more than likely, a lot of their tactics involve ramming things. So, which insurance do you think they go through, Geico or Progressive? Take a look at their tech spec card here. It lists their teamwork as 7, their cooperation is 5, their strength is 8, their endurance is 7, their speed is 9, their intelligence is 7, their courage is 8, and their skill is 6. So the cooperation is kind of their lowest point, but from going by the stats, we know it's predominantly Roadhugger that's the big problem on that, but otherwise they seem to be a pretty well-rounded unit. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of the Sports Car Patrol? I think the Sports Car Patrol is a vast improvement over the Stunticons that came out earlier. This is a ground-based vehicular unit that can truly challenge the Autobots for ownership of the road. They seem to work a little bit better as a unit, more so than the Stunticons, so I find that to be a great improvement upon that. Now, of course, they're Micromasters, so they're not going to do much good against a lot of the full-size Transformers, but for what they're capable of doing, I could easily see them being a lot of fun to play with, especially if you were also collecting Micro Machine toys. That was their direct competition. These guys could work out pretty well inside some of the small play sets, and you could just easily imagine them tearing up the little cities and running over the various Micro Machine cars without any sense of impunity whatsoever. However, it's some of their designs and some of the ways that they're written that prevents them from being on the top tier, but that's very, very minuscule. I mean, I think they sit on the line between being in the top tier and being in the middle tier. Their car lineup is pretty interesting. You got 2 American, 1 Italian, and 1 Japanese car, so they're pretty well mixed up. Just some of their colors, not real fond of. Some of the way that they're written or presented isn't the best, and frankly, when you look at Roadhugger and Hyperdrive with the obvious hinge on their hoods, kind of detracts from their overall car appearance. And like I said earlier, the hood piece on Roadhugger is always loose. I don't know if that's just the way it was on my sample, or if that's just the way it always is, or what, but it is something that does detract a little bit from play, and those factors is kind of what makes it hard to go with putting them in the top tier or in the middle tier. But I think for the sake of argument, and since a lot of people are pretty biased against the Micromasters, I'm going to put them in the top tier. I think they just barely deserve it, and as I said earlier, they are a vast improvement over the Stunticons. While the Stunticons really didn't share the same function that this group does, they are a little bit better at being able to challenge the predominantly car-based Autobots for ownership of the road. So we're going to go with the top tier, folks. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Decepticon Advanced Assault Unit, the Sports Car Patrol. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up here on YouTube, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already. Please also consider sharing a like and your thoughts about the Sports Car Patrol in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.